by the time I was 15, I was working 7 days a week. I was just like so enamored by, being able to build up my bank account and be able to like commit to something. And I actually got managerial roles as a 15-year-old, as a 16-year-old.
Chris, welcome to Point of Impact.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Well, I'm really excited to get into it. I'm fascinated by, well, all things marketing, but I'm interested in how you've chosen your particular niche. But I'm also excited because you are in Perth. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, it's kind of cool just speaking to somebody around the world and, the other side of the world. But yeah, I visited Australia when I was 15. It's like 31 years ago. And I've been trying to find a way to back ever since. Uh, uh, one of the funniest things I think I've read was the author of, was it Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Adam, I forgot his name. He also wrote like a tourist guide to Australia. It was just
Okay.
make sure you find yourself a good stick and don't try to use any Aussie slang. It just get you beat up. But tell me, well, before we get into the business part of what you're doing today, tell me who Chris was. How'd you get to today? Who were you before?
Sure. Well, I've always been someone with a pretty good work ethic, I would say. Out of high school, or in high school, I got my first job at 13 years old. And I always had a job every single year in high school, always had a job. And by the time I was 15, I was working 7 days a week. I was just like so enamored by, being able to build up my bank account and be able to like commit to something. And I actually got managerial roles as a 15-year-old, as a 16-year-old for, local businesses. And by the time I left high school or finished high school, I had, saved up $20,000 in the bank, which is a really big like accomplishment for a 17-year-old. And, I then transitioned into working in the iron ore mining industry in northern Western Australia. And after my first year as an apprentice in that industry, as a mechanical fitter apprentice, I had saved up $50,000 and went and bought my first house. So that allowed me to move down to Perth, which I am here today and recording in the house that I bought when I was 18. And that kind of started a bit of a journey for me. So I went through and completed my apprenticeship, bought a second house when I was 21, and then went on to become a tradesman and realized that I was not really in love with what I was doing, which led me towards where I'm at today, essentially, which is an entrepreneur and a marketer. And the main things for me that made me transition was just the realization and reading Robert Kiyosaki's books and things like that. But the main realization that there's more to the world, and I just didn't have that lens before. I thought that if you wanted to be able to build a portfolio of assets that could retire you, you had to have a job and you had to invest in property or shares or something along those lines to make that work. But with Robert Kiyosaki and Tim Ferriss and all those kind of really successful people, they showed myself a different way ultimately, and that kind of led me to finding some more of the niche marketers in the space, like Russell Brunson, who's quite popular today, but back in 2016 he wasn't as popular. but that was just like a stepping stone for me. So I got really excited about working and building sales funnels, and working inside of the ClickFunnels technology, which was again really small back in 2016, and basically just transitioning myself. So I find myself getting fired from my mining job in the end of 2016 for missing a flight, and that just opened up an opportunity to go all in on what I was quite excited about at the time, which was marketing related stuff. Basically transitioned into working as an intern for a local marketing agency, and quickly became a partner with the owner of that agency 12 months later with my own business, and have kind of been kicking as many goals as I can since 2018. So
I'm curious how you got yourself fired.
Yeah, so they have a policy for fly in, fly out in the mining industry, and if you miss 2 flights in 12 months, you pretty much are under review to lose your job. And I missed 2 flights in 12 months, and they were the only 2 flights I missed in 5 years of doing fly in, fly out. But it was the circumstance that happened, and I'm not upset about it. It led me to where I am today.
Well, you said you'd saved $20,000 by the time you'd left high school, and that takes some discipline. So, on the flip side, you're getting yourself fired from your job, and so it seems like a contrast. But you were, learning how to build your fortune, but you knew what you did like and didn't like, or at least at the time, knew what you didn't like, and still finding out what your path was. So tell me, you started down this marketing path, and we mentioned building funnels. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about that? What's a funnel, and how did you get drawn into it, and drawn into your own funnel building business?
Yeah, it's a good question, and definitely something that should be clarified. Funnels essentially are websites in a way. It's a series of web pages. The way funnels differentiate from websites is that there's a direct flow that we drive the visitors of the web pages through to achieve a specific goal or outcome for the most part. So, do we want them to be a lead of ours? Do we, and get them on an email list so that we can, nurture, send them emails, maybe have them buy other things from us, and so on. Or do we want them to be a customer or a client of ours? So, what's the process? Maybe they fill out an application, and then on the next step of the funnel, they book a call with someone on our team. Or maybe they go to the webpage and they opt in to listen to Aaron Hale's podcast. And on the page after that, there's a freebie that they can get. And so that it's basically a series of web pages that take someone through a specific process to achieve a goal that we want them to achieve, essentially. And it's usually with the intent of something bigger after the fact. So if they're a lead today, do we want them to be a customer tomorrow? If they're a customer today, do we want them to become a client where we can give them more time, energy, resources in the future? And if they're a client, do we want them to become a repeat client, kind of things, buying more things from us over time? So the reason why that really excited me was because when I was working as a qualified mechanical fitter for that 1 year, I ultimately found myself looking to do any kind of side hustle I could do in the nighttime between work. I was working 13.5-hour days, and I would have about an hour and a half window to be able to do stuff. So, I was working and looking to build eBay stores. I was, trying different things around that. I was looking to do email marketing stuff. And, just through those processes, I found that there was more effective ways to sell online and to really follow up with leads and customers online. And it was all really through the power of funnels and email funnels, essentially. And when we think of funnels, it's not just like the series of web pages. It's also, what are the emails that go into it that kind of drive towards the overarching goal that we want them to accomplish with us. And so that, just naturally led me towards, looking at Russell Brunson, what he's doing, and getting excited about the software that he had, and designing and building and helping clients, be able to convert leads and clients, essentially.
I've heard, in fact, you mentioned Russell Brunson, and I think he was the one who described it more as though there are so many people out there that are not your customers, not the people looking for your product. And so the funnel, it goes, from a widespread, like a shotgun pattern, and it just is constantly, as they go on this customer's journey, this path through this funnel, you're weeding out all of the people that are not your customer for your particular products. So you get multiple funnels for multiple, products. Is that an accurate description?
Yeah, 100%. If you think of an actual funnel where you pour liquid into, right, it's very wide at the top. So as we sending people to our funnel or funnels, there's going to be a lot more people at the very start of the process, and then we're through the steps of the funnel, the more requirements that we have, we're going to have drop off, and by the end of it, we're just going to have a select few people at the end of the process who are essentially people who have accomplished the outcome that we want them to accomplish, whether they're a lead or customer or a client. And so, yes, it's essentially a way for us to send people down a direct path, but also filter people who are not good fits.
So it's a kind of about striking a balance between cutting out those who are not going to buy, and gaining and keeping the attention of those who will buy.
Definitely, yeah.
Your avatar that you're a perfect client.
Yeah, 100%. And the people who typically take the most action in the series of pages, are usually better fits to work with us in the bigger scheme of things. So if we have a number of additional offers in a funnel, it's a sales funnel. We're selling one thing on the front, and then there's multiple upsells and things like that. The people who buy the upsells are usually the people who are committed to paying for speed most of the time, getting an outcome faster. They want a shortcut or something along those lines. And so they're usually people who are willing to invest for solutions, and are likely going to be better fits to work with you and your business on a higher level. So it is a way for them to self-identify with their credit card, if you will, to being better fits to work with your company.
So your client is a business owner who has a high-end product that they want to sell, a service, whatever that product is, and you build their marketing funnels for them and coach them on the social media, and also you have focused on a particular funnel niche, starting with books as the the magnet, right?
Yep. Yeah. So for us, we have niched into working with business owners who have books that promote their business, essentially, or the front end lead magnet for their business. So there was just a massive gap for me in the market after doing some research, and authors are very well serviced in many areas, and marketing is just not one. Unfortunately, they're very well serviced in writing and ghostwriting and publishing and bestseller campaigns on Amazon. There's 101 service providers for all those different avenues, and people who niche in their own respect to helping specific business owners and specific authors, do those things. But there's very few people like myself where we will bring on a client who has a book, and we'll build out all of the resources that they need to market with. So we'll build out their book funnel. We'll do all of their advertising. We'll build out the ads. We'll build out the email follow-up sequences to essentially bridge the gap between selling a book or giving a book away for free to then getting that reader, that new book buyer, that reader to become a customer or a client in their business. And that's where, the strategic thought of how do we put the right things in place so that we're filtering out the wrong people and we get the best quality fits for our client's business, for people to work with them on a bigger basis.
Do you help the client determine whether the book should be sold or given away, if it should be an ebook or hard copy, any of that?
100%, yeah, and it's all based on the client and their goals and what they want to accomplish. So, as an example, if someone is wanting to get as many leads as possible and they just want to get calls booked on a calendar, so they want to do strategy calls, which gives them an opportunity to do a sales conversation and potentially convert someone to a higher pricing. They don't have a massive budget for ad spend, so they want as many leads as possible for as little money spent as possible. And maybe they're a smaller business or a smaller coach, right? They're a one-man show or they've just got a small team. That is a prime example of me going, cool, let's do a free book. Let's give away the book as a PDF or an EPUB, something that's digital and can be easily consumed. But let's not charge for it, because if we start charging for it, we're going to see probably a 1/10 the amount of people coming through the funnel if we were to give it away for free. So, and the cost per lead versus someone buying the book is drastically reduced. It can be up to 10 times less money spent to get someone to download the book for free versus them paying for the book. And so that just allows us to very effectively use our dollar today on advertising and to see a result tomorrow on, getting sales come through the pipeline, essentially. And so it's definitely something whenever I'm having a book marketing conversation with potential clients or people who need my help, I'll usually recommend a strategy to them based on what they've told me about their business and what they want to achieve with actually marketing and advertising their books.
Well, tell me a little bit more about both your customer's journey and that of the end buyer or the end customer journey. I saw on your website you used Steve Sims' Go for Stupid, who Sims, by the way, he'd been a guest on this show before, and it caught my attention. What was his experience, or in general, how do you determine the right funnel or the right path to build for his clients? Does it matter what the end product is, or is it more preference to your client? How does the decision making process go, and what's the journey look like?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Aaron. And for someone like Steve has he's got a suite of things that he's very good at and can help people with. Steve is a little bit of a unique case because I would say that for him, it was a book launch that we helped with. We did Amazon advertising, we did Facebook advertising for sales direct on his funnel. And ultimately, the reason behind helping Steve was helping build authority and more awareness around a new book. He obviously had blue fishing previously, but we wanted to continue to build up the authority of Steve Sims, which it's hard to say you can build more authority around Steve Sims because he's already very, very accomplished and credible. But that was essentially the main goal of that campaign. And from a product perspective, how do we get people who buy Steve's Go for Stupid book to work with him further? We gave a trial to his membership for people who purchased the book through his funnel, and his membership was the Sims Distillery membership for $97 a month. So when they bought the book and paid $20 or whatever, they got the membership for a whole month. So $100 value essentially. And to further that, the other products associated with Steve is obviously speaking and keynote speaking. So, getting the book out there in a bigger way with a specific message, it warrants attention for him to be going on stages. It warrants attention for him to be going and doing podcasts with people like yourself. And it kind of just gets him more attention and authority in those respects as well.
Does a business owner, the entrepreneur, do they have to have a book already written, or does this funnel, this process work with other lead magnets?
It 100% works with other lead magnets and other front end products. You can exchange a book for a mini course. You can exchange a free book for a checklist or cheat sheet to download. You can exchange a paid book for a template and a video system to go along with that to help someone implement something specific. You can absolutely replace anything on the front end with anything else that can go on the front end, as long as, for me, the front end aligns with the back end. If there's no congruency between even the book, the book's message, and what they sell as a service or an offer on the back end, then you're going to have a very hard time converting people who get the book today and want to join the program tomorrow if it doesn't align the same goal, essentially. So, if you replace anything on the front end, it has to also align with something that you have on the back end. Otherwise, the campaign won't be a true success to you. The one thing for me is that, I just specialize. I've put my stake in the ground and I said, nope, just authors, just book funnels. So whilst I can do other stuff, it's nope, I'm just a book guy. So
what is it about books in particular that had you kind of narrow out or weed out every other type of lead magnet?
Well, I just find, and I'm sure you can attest to this, potentially listening to audiobooks and things like that, it's just the best long tail piece of content for me. I think books and podcasts just create the best types of audience for you and your business. People who listen to your podcast are likely going to be big fans of yours. People who read a good book and read multiple of good books from a specific author typically become fans of that author. The Tim Ferrisses, the Russell Brunsons, the Robert Kiyosaki's, the Mike Michalowicz's, all of those kind of people. They usually create very big fan bases based on their books, and then those people usually go on to want to work with that person's company in some capacity. And so for me, books are just the ultimate authority building asset that you can have, in my opinion. And they also just create the best type of, leads and customers for your business, in my opinion. And so that's really truly the reason why, I've focused here.
Yeah, I can understand all sorts of reasons why books are superior, but you were saying, I don't think you get a whole lot of raving fans from a checklist. So, but Yeah, if you are an expert in a particular field and you write a good book about that, at least helping explain a certain topic or the introduction to a broader topic, that becomes word of mouth. People gift those kind of books to other people. Right? And I'm constantly reading social media posts about, hey, I'm about to, I need another book. I need recommendations. And people just, brain dump all of their best, favorite books, especially when you're specific about a topic. So, it makes perfect sense. That would be, what you would start with. Do you have, when it comes to books, do you rely on, say, Amazon and Amazon ads? Does it matter? Is that what is that? Next step, that particular platform come into play?
Yeah, we primarily do two platforms for advertising. The Meta platform, which is Facebook and Instagram, and Amazon. And they both serve different purposes. So with Amazon, people obviously buy books on Amazon. That's like probably the number one place in the world where people get books consistently, I would say. Obviously, each country has its own other options and whatnot, but Amazon is a pretty reliable source for book purchases. And Amazon's fantastic because we can sell a good amount of books for a pretty low cost in comparison to running people through a sales funnel and selling on Facebook. The downsides is that we don't get any contact information. When someone buys our book on Amazon, we don't know about it. We just say, we just get a royalty. We just get a notification from Amazon. Someone's bought your book, So it's very hard for us to do anything with that person. They have to proactively reach out to us. So, and the way that we make sure that that is accomplished is inside the book, you would have, a resource link or something where someone can go to your website or your funnel and they can actually go ahead and give their name and email in exchange for downloading the resources that go along with your book. And you can also have other offers to work further with you at the end of the book as well, like a wrap up. If you enjoyed this book, and you want more help with XYZ process, then you can reach out to me here and work with us further on that. And so you can have offers at the back of the book as well to help with people understanding next steps and working with you further. But ultimately, that's up to them to take action on. So you're really putting the ball in their court. And I would just, as a marketer and as someone who wants to be as effective as possible, I would just rather it's in our court. So the other types of ads that we run is Facebook and Instagram ads. And we specifically run those ads to our own funnel where we sell the book on our own terms and we give the book away for free on our own terms. And so as soon as someone buys the book or gets the book for free, we're getting their contact information right away. And then we can give them other offers right away. And we can control what each page that they go through is after they buy or get the book for free is right away. So, we can put an offer for a strategy session on the thank you page of them getting the book, which can right away start the process for next steps on working with us without them having to read the whole book to wait and reach out to us and essentially just allowing the ball to be back in our court. And then the ultimate benefit is that we now have that person on our email list and we can follow up with them and nurture them and ascend them and all the things. We can really take them through a customer journey to get them to where we want them to be.
So once you've really got this customer journey dialed in, you've got the funnel set up. Do you offer ongoing services after that, or is it more of a do-it-for-yourself type of thing for the business owner after that?
Yeah, at the moment, Aaron, all of our services are done for you. So we set up the funnels, we set up the emails and the ads, and we manage the ads. Through managing ads, there's a lot of things that happen. every single day. Budget allocations, testing new ads, creatives, which is the images and the videos that go with the ads, split testing copywriting for the ads, the headlines, and then on the funnel side, there's consistent conversion rate optimization that has to be done, testing new headlines, testing different offers, and so on. And so there's a lot of ongoing work that happens when you're actually actively running ads. And so that's what we handle as an agency. We are looking at new ways to offer our templates and strategies and advice and feedback on a done with you basis. There's nothing that's been properly launched just yet, but that is essentially, the next step for us is how do we take what we're doing with our done for you clients and help people with the same strategies on a done with you basis.
What sort of analytics are you looking at? Is it how many books give away versus how many online courses are finally purchased? How does it work to know when you're really dialed in?
Yeah, it's definitely, of the people who get the book, how many people convert to clients or customers on the back end. That's the number one metric to determine success. And then obviously comparing the total revenue of the book funnel and the back end sales to what was actually spent, right, to acquire those the book buyers in the first place. So if we had 100 books sold in the space of a month, that might cost us $30 per book to sell, and so that's $3,000. If we sell just one back-end offer at $10,000, then you can clearly see that that's a $7,000 split. And so in that example, that obviously gives us a 2.5 return on ad spend in the campaign. And so that's a success in my opinion. But if our clients have really good sales processes and can follow up with leads really effectively, then we can see that 1% turn to 2% to 5% to 10% and even up to 15% sometimes. And so now that same 100 people that buy the book, we might have 15 people who buy a $10,000 offer. And so that $3,000 gets us $3,000 in ad spend, gets us $150,000 in revenue. And so you can start to see how it can compound if the person who has the book has really dialed in processes around actually nurturing and converting their leads into their offers.
Is there a particular return on ad spend that you're like a minimum you're hoping to gain, or is it a cumulative effect? Like you said, at first you're not going to see as much, but over time you want to see a particular percentage of growth. How's that? I mean, 2.5 times return on ad spend doesn't sound great, but is that in fact pretty good?
I think it differs for every client. Some people are happy with anything above a 1 times ROAS. It just depends on if there's different levels for people to buy at. So if the lowest level for someone to buy at gets us a 1 times ROAS, we're breaking even on ad spend, and there's opportunity for them to sell more things over time to that same person, then a lot of savvy business owners are comfortable with that kind of campaign. They'll run that campaign all day because all of the costs are covered. We're basically getting free customers, free leads for the business, if that makes sense. And then, the people who have obviously the higher end programs, the 10,000s, the 20,000s, the 30,000s, and that's kind of like the big tier for them. We'd obviously want to see a much higher return on ad spend, but it's hard to give you an exact number. It definitely just differs between each client. And, that's obviously a part of the overarching, hey, what is the outcome that you want to achieve by working with Smart Author Media, and what's the goals that, we want to achieve together? And we will determine what that looks like essentially with each person.
Well, let's back a little bit, and I want to ask you about your business in particular, but outside the details of how the customer journey goes. But how long have you been at this so far?
So I've officially been a business owner for 6 years now. March 2018. So it was the 8th of March when we registered the company of 2018. And so, yeah, 6 years. And Smart Author Media and this niche specifically has been, the ideation started around March of 2022. So we're almost 2 years, but I got my first client mid 2022. So there was a little bit of hustle and development and thought process and market research and all that kind of stuff to determine what Smart Author Media was going to do, and even naming the company as well. So this business has been around for, I would say, about 20 months or so now.
And it sounds like it required quite a bit of patience and discipline to get to where you are now. How's it working out?
The Smart Author Media journey has been the most success I've had in business. Previously, when I was doing funnels as a service, as an agency, I didn't have recurring services and I didn't solve recurring problems.
Tell me a little bit about that time, the first 2 years. How did you manage, and what was going through your head at the time?
So, in Smart Author Media specifically?
Well, when you first started out.
Yeah. So when I first started, it was off the back of working for working for another marketing agency, and it was a pretty rough time, like coming into a new business, not having any clients, and figuring out what I was going to do, whilst also at the same time having a lot of hard beliefs around charging worth and things like that. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people will either be too confident or they'll undercharge most of the time. So the too confident people will see other people charging $10,000 offers and so on, and they'll think that they can do it. And then the people who undercharge, they know that they've got a good product, but they are scared to charge what they're worth because maybe they wouldn't pay that or they haven't paid that. So for me, in the beginning, I had a lot of issues charging what we were worth, and I found myself just doing projects for $1,000, $2,000, and like very small kind of projects, probably big in scope but small in value. So I actually had to hustle very, very hard, and there was a few months where weren't able to make payroll. I wasn't able to pay myself. But then, I found some grace through working for someone influential for free on a project and allowing that to kind of form a relationship and build my authority and credibility. And what I mean by that is, I found someone who needed what we offered and didn't have anyone that could do it reliably, and also wanted and also didn't want to charge her for it. Like there was everyone who was like pitching her for the service, pitching her to like have her stuff worked on, and there was such a high guard put up around that stuff. And so I came in and just said, hey, I just want to help. I just want to do this for free. And she was a very big name. And ultimately, it led to me getting a tremendous result with her funnel that we worked on. And it ultimately led to her working with me on retainer for 12 months and also referring me probably close to $500,000 in business over time. So it was just a tremendous relationship builder for me. And that first year was just such a hustle mode. We ended up doing about $350,000 in revenue after a bit of a slow period in the beginning, but it was the most burnt out I've ever been in my life. So, the next 2 years, I like drastically lightened my load, and my revenue definitely showed that. But after the 3 years, that's when the transition to Smart Author Media happened, and we created a recurring service and solved recurring problems instead of just doing funnel projects, which is a one-time thing.
It's so funny. I just had another conversation with a guest that reminded me of what you were talking about. Another friend had a post or a quote or said, entrepreneurs have two emotions, elation and absolute terror. And that kind of sounds like the journey you're on, where you're gonna slug it out for a while. It's terrifying, but then once it starts paying off and it's working, it's just really fulfilling, a very fulfilling feeling. You also mentioned how you even had to kind of give it away. It sounds in the beginning just to kind of build up the momentum, and I think that's just like right out of Alex Hormozi's book, a page right out of his book, $100,000 lead. You give it away, and you get, because the testimonial, the referrals, they're worth more than the dollars in the beginning. So you get that name out, you get the practice in. That's when you're supposed to suck. So get the the bad swings out of the way first, and earn your stripes, so to speak. So it sounds like
I also think that there's a big element here to today I still do free projects for people, and obviously my skill set is very dialed in today, but there's a tremendous value in working for someone for free. It can get you access to people who otherwise would say no because you're charging for something. And the relationship that you can build and the rapport that you can build has tremendous value to you and your life. And so some examples, Steve Sims, I did all of the marketing for Steve for free, because I wanted to build the relationship with Steve. I'm currently doing Ryan Dice's book, Get Scalable, and his new book, and I'm doing all of that for free. And there's other people who have publishing businesses that are marketing their books for free, because I know that if I help them win, they're going to be much more likely to get new clients, but then also recommend me to their clients because we've helped them tremendously with winning and getting results. So it's like they're kind of able to also test the waters and use our service to see if it is as good as it sounds.
You mentioned it earlier. The books aren't the end result. They could be the loss leader. It almost doesn't matter how much they're charged, because that just gets your foot in the door, gets them, the customer started on the journey. When it comes to the end product, I've had a mentor tell me, if you don't cringe a little bit every time you look at your own prices, you probably aren't charging enough for your own value. So, but that was, we were talking about chocolate, and I'm okay with paying a little extra for good chocolate.
Well, I think for me, I had to pay a lot of money to someone to feel comfortable charging a lot of money, and I would look at the same thesis, to anyone listening here. If you're struggling to charge $5,000, maybe you should pay someone $5,000 for something that's a good service. And I've paid for many mentors and whatnot that are in the 5-figure range, multi 5-figure range. And it just makes me much more comfortable charging, $3,000, $4,000 a month for services, and knowing that I'm doing a tremendous value for someone.
All right, so recap it for me real quick. What sort of customer are you looking for? Is there a particular income range, a particular end product? Well, what does your avatar look like, your customer?
So business owners who typically have written their book to lead in towards what they sell or offer as a business service or offering. So someone who has figured out a way to consistently convert their leads into clients or customers on the core offer that they provide, and then has written a book to basically amplify that. So, income ranges and things like that is not necessarily a true indicator, but I would say, anyone that's kind of over 400,000 a year kind of thing and has a book that they want to leverage to amplify their business would be a good fit, because, they'd be able to afford marketing services and also advertising spend, and be able to invest in that to see a return. Usually, when we go under the $30,000-$40,000 per month range, people are a little bit more hesitant to spend $3,000 to $7,000 a month, to advertise things, because that's a decent chunk of their revenue that they're committing to that kind of service. So that's obviously one thing to consider, but it's ultimately anyone who has a really good book that is congruent to their back end and can consistently sell on their back end.
And for those out there who want to learn more or get in contact with you, where do they go?
smartauthormedia.com is the best place. There's an opportunity there to book a call directly with me. We can chat about your book and your book marketing, and I can give you any actionable advice that we go through. And if you want to have us help implement anything, then there's an opportunity there to work with us as well. And then we've also got a YouTube channel. It's the Smart Author Podcast. So youtube.com/the Smart Author is how you can find that.
Terrific. We'll put that in the show notes. Well, Chris, I really appreciate your time. And I know it's evening there in Australia, so I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. It's been a pleasure.